baby at home, so hopefully this can be just as good as if I was there. Um, you probably already are familiar with the Community Notes UI, but just in case you're not, here's a note attached to a post on X. This note was written by a contributor, basically a regular user, and before it was shown was rated as helpful by other contributors who tended to disagree in the past. This lightning icon means that the note actually appeared within the first hour of the post being created, which is happening more and more since the system's been speeding up recently. Another way notes can appear really quickly on posts is the immediate matching. So you can write notes on images or videos that will automatically apply to all other posts with those that same matching media. Because the data is public, external researchers have analyzed it a ton, and I'm just going to share some highlights of what they found. So one group found that notes are 98 or 99% accurate about COVID vaccines, according to them. And just want to flag that although notes are already pretty rarely inaccurate, one great property is that inaccurate notes attract additional raters, and as a result, the system can quite often be self-correcting, which is pretty cool. Um, Another group ran some survey where they compared some UIs. One that's kind of like community notes versus one where they had a community flag or a traditional fact checker flag. And what they found is that the community note is found bipartisanly by survey participants to be more trustworthy than the others. And then also um, and survey participants rate posts as less accurate when they're displayed with a note versus without, which is pretty cool. We do not algorithmically re-rank posts based on whether they have notes or not, for instance, in the For You page, but there is an organic change in engagement behavior after posts get notes. So just we observed in 2022 in an A/B test that the like and repost rate dropped by 30%. After a post got a note. And then in 2023 and 24, external research groups found about a 50% drop in engagements after a post got noted. So that's really big, by the way. If you've ever run experiments on big social media platforms, you're probably familiar that 1% can often be a really, really big change. And these are in the 30 and 50% range. So it's quite large. Posts are also much more likely to be deleted by their authors. And then this is really hard to measure, but there's just an incentive change. Authors don't want to get demonetized or have the stigma of a note. So anecdotally, some users say they post differently, given that notes exists. I think very relevant for this talk is the idea of credible neutrality that we aspire to, similar to some other crypto projects. I think some things we do towards this end are, number one, contributors are regular users, right? They do have to have a verified phone number and have signed up 6 months ago, et cetera. But for instance, they're not employees or something like that. Separately, we don't take in external ground truth labels either. So instead we use this clever bridging mechanism that I'll talk more about. And then we also are open source, transparent, reproducible, and verifiable. So for instance, X never manually edits or changes the status of a note to take it down. You can actually go to our website and download the code, download the data, and run the code on the data and verify that it matches exactly what was in production 2 days ago. And that 2-day delay is just to prevent manipulation. But that's pretty cool to be quite so transparent and is very rare among similar companies. Okay, so the core mechanism, I think that's interesting here, is this bridging algorithm, which is what lets us not use external ground truth. So here's a note of one of our contributors explaining it to someone else. Doesn't work by majority rules. It's not an upvote, downvote system where we add it up. We actually look for ratings where there's agreement between people who've disagreed in the past. This gives us some built-in manipulation resistance. That's pretty cool. In this little cartoon here, just to help you understand why this might happen, is if you think of these circles as people and the colors are viewpoints, if you get some off-platform brigade of people from Discord or something who all decide to go rate a note a particular way, that group alone can't determine what notes get shown. It's a pretty great property. Another interesting thing is that the data set's quite large, so it's sparse. There's not a lot of users that have rated many of the same notes in the past. So what we have to do is we build a model. We use a matrix factorization approach, so we construct the matrix of users and notes and the ratings on them. And we train this model that's quite similar to a traditional recommender system. You're probably familiar with this. But rather than personalizing what note we show to each user, we actually learn this global note score, which we call an intercept term here, which is the same for all users. And the way we train it is we add extra regularization to those terms, which force ratings to be explained by the viewpoints whenever possible. So if ratings are occurring on a note in a totally viewpoint consistent way, then the intercept term will remain neutral. What this looks like in picture format is here's a scatter plot of notes. The x-axis is the viewpoint of notes. The y-axis is the intercept score. Most of these notes fall in the yellow circles, and that's not a problem with the algorithm. Oftentimes, these notes just aren't great. The green notes are the ones that are seen by users on X. Everything else is just seen by contributors, and then the red ones we actually penalize the authors for. So that's the core mechanism and how it works. There's a ton of other mechanisms on top of that, which I don't fully have time to explain all of them, but for instance, we also do a similar matrix factorization for tags. So if we find bridging-based consensus that a note is incorrect, we don't show it even if it was found helpful, for instance. There's also needs your help tab. This can, and needs your help notifications. So this can help, number one, address selection bias. We can make sure there's enough raters with each viewpoint that have rated a note to help get notes showing faster. We can detect or mitigate coordinated manipulation like those brigades if the distribution from the needs your help tab is very different than the organic distribution. I think of particular interest to this group is probably similarities with prediction markets. So you can think of each note as being kind of like a prediction market that resolves to its final status, whether it's helpful or not helpful. And your rater reputation goes up if your rater matches the outcome and down if it doesn't. So your rater reputation is kind of like your currency in the prediction markets. The market doesn't always resolve, of course, as prediction markets also don't always, which is fine. It's a valid distilled mechanism in that case. And I guess maybe the biggest difference is that there's no bet sizes. So each user gets one rating max. I think the incentives for reputation, well, first call out that some users just aren't very incentivized by it, and they're just going to rate in ways that they're going to try to impact what notes show on the platform above all else. But as far as users who are following the incentives, number one, for your ratings to count, you have to have high enough reputation. Number two, in order to earn the ability to write notes, you have to have high enough rating impact. And then in order to unlock some superpowers like media notes, you have to build up your writing impact. I think one pretty straightforward idea here could be just making prediction markets that resolve to whether there's community notes on a post. But I think Vitalik has been blogging a lot recently about community notes and prediction market mashups. And what's the best way? And I think many others are excited about this. What's the best way to build community notes that could say something interesting about the future? What mechanisms could work there? I think I just want to end the talk by saying things that I'm personally interested in. I think those mechanisms, and as well as multidimensional bridging, more notes faster in more places, like matching in LLMs, and I think bridging algorithms beyond notes, like in the For You page, for instance, would be cool, or collaboratively writing wikis or policies. No guarantees. This is just my personal interest, so no guarantees about the company doing anything there. But if any of this is exciting to you, we're hiring a machine learning engineer. It's also linked to my bio, and definitely, especially because I didn't get a chance to come there in person, please reach out and DM me with any questions or comments you have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jay.